Welcome to Fantastic Vision. Please subscribe us before you watch today's video. As we all know, due to changes in the external environment, chip foundries like TSMC and Samsung have lost the right to freely ship products internationally. The United States has further tightened its control over the semiconductor industry chain, attempting to continue to reap excess profits from overseas markets like China by monopolizing the high-end chip industry. With the development of artificial intelligence technology, AI chips have become another technological frontier in the Sino-US chip war. Contrary to external analysis of the US chip industry's dominance, some foreign media outlets have now published analyses suggesting that the fate of US chip sanctions is already sealed. It is understood that after the US implemented chip control policies against China, China's domestic chip industry chain has begun to break through. From the low-key launch of Huawei's Kirin 9000S series chips to the high-profile return of the Kirin 9020 series chips this year, the US chip sanctions on Huawei have only caused Huawei pain for approximately 3 to 4 years. Based on this timeline, the next breakthrough in domestic chip foundry technology will occur 2 years from now, in 2027. By then, the mass production of chips equivalent to 5-nanometer technology will break the US monopoly on over 90% of chip products. Furthermore, Huawei's Ren Zhengfei has clearly stated that the company aims to break through the competition by adopting more complementing approaches, using cluster computing instead of single chips. The US chip control measures against China have, in practical terms, begun to lose their effectiveness. Everyone knows about NVIDIA's H20 chip, right? They announced plans to launch sales in China this year, requiring domestic companies to place orders and submit applications. The result? Unsurprisingly, it met with a cold reception in the domestic market. China's domestically produced AI chips have already achieved similar computing capabilities, but they haven't caught up in terms of mass production capacity and software ecosystem adaptation. However, as long as domestic manufacturers are willing to adapt, the opportunity is already there. Currently, Huawei has announced the open-source CAN ecosystem, attempting to break NVIDIA's monopoly in AI computing by creating a CUDA-like ecosystem. Several well-known semiconductor companies, such as Cambricon and Pingtu GE, have also begun developing domestic AI chips, reducing their dependence on US chip products through localized substitution. According to relevant statistics, China has become the country with the most abundant chip production capacity in the world, including Taiwan. In contrast, while the US chip industry boasts advanced technology, it remains constrained by large manufacturers like TSMC in chip foundry and other areas. Since the beginning of this year, the US has repeatedly pressured TSMC, citing supply chain security and tariff issues, to shift more chip production capacity to the US. This demonstrates that TSMC's leverage in this area is limited. TSMC is a commercially operated company. To persuade it to build new chip factories in the US, it must offer significant benefits and relatively low risks. The US's tariff barriers and orders from US companies have limited impact. Due to its sensitivity to geopolitics and the uncertainty surrounding investment in U.S. factories, TSMC continues to locate a significant portion of its advanced chip production capacity in Taiwan. According to public information, all 5 of TSMC's 2nm chip factories, expected to be operational in 2026, are planned for Taiwan, with future 1.4nm factories also planned for construction on the island. It's clear that while TSMC has repeatedly expressed support for building factories in the US, its actual actions remain cautious and conservative. TSMC's top management understands that only by maintaining the industry dominance of TSMC's Taiwan factories can the international giant maintain its market position. The US, with only 10% of its chip foundry capacity, is insufficient to support 57% of chip manufacturing demand. This is one reason why foreign media claim the US chip sanctions are doomed. China's domestic substitution efforts are accelerating, and the US chip production capacity gap remains significant. As a commercial company, TSMC is unlikely to completely side with the US on these issues. As long as the other side maintains a relatively neutral stance, it can easily maneuver between the two major powers and profit. Meanwhile, breakthroughs in domestic chip technology will effectively undermine the monopoly of the US chip industry. As one side gains, the other loses, and the Huawei-Kirin chip scenario is likely to repeat itself in areas such as AI chips. With profits shrinking, US companies will naturally be unable to achieve long-term technological breakthroughs. As the pace of US chip technology iteration slows, and China's swarm computing and non-more for more approaches become established, China will gradually gain the upper hand. As foreign media have commented, the outcome of US chip sanctions is already inevitable. It's just that the US side is unwilling to acknowledge this and is using every possible means to delay this day. What are your thoughts on this? Feel free to leave a comment and discuss.